Think about the last time you walked into a room full of people and your Border Collie was already in there. Maybe it was a family gathering. Maybe it was just a Tuesday evening with a few friends over. Everyone is sitting around. Everyone likes your dog. Some of them are calling their name, patting their legs, offering their hands, and your Border Collie does something that every single person in that room notices. They walk past all of it, past the outstretched hands, past the friendly voices, past the people who are actively trying to get their attention. And they come to you. They don't run. They don't make a big show of it. They just walk, deliberately, directly, and they settle beside you or they look up at you with that specific quality of attention that Border Collie owners know better than almost anything else in their lives. And in that moment, something happens inside you. Something quiet and profound that you probably don't say out loud. You think, they chose me, and you are right. But what most Border Collie owners never find out is what that choice actually means, how it was made, and what your dog had to decide about you before they made it. Because a Border Collie does not choose a person the way other dogs do. The neuroscience behind this specific breed's loyalty is unlike anything else in the domestic dog world. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what happened the day your Border Collie picked you, and why that decision, once made, runs deeper than almost any bond in the animal kingdom. Subscribe right now because what we cover here will permanently change the way you understand your dog. Let's get into it. Most dogs bond with the people who feed them, walk them, and spend the most time in their presence. The process is largely proximity-based. Show up consistently, provide resources, avoid causing fear, and most breeds will develop a warm and genuine connection with you over time. Border Collies don't work that way, and understanding why requires going back several hundred years before your dog was born. Border Collies were developed in the border region between England and Scotland for one extraordinarily specific purpose: to work sheep across open terrain in complete coordination with a single human handler. Not a team of handlers, not a rotating group of caretakers, one person. The dog and the handler had to function as a single unit across distances of hundreds of meters, reading each other's signals at a glance, anticipating each other's decisions before they were communicated, operating on a level of mutual understanding that went far beyond basic obedience. To make this possible, breeders over generations selected for dogs who didn't just respond to a handler. They selected for dogs who oriented their entire psychological world around one. The capacity for deep, selective, singular attachment was not a side effect of Border Collie development. It was the goal. It was bred in deliberately, generation after generation, until it became one of the most defining neurological features of the breed. What this means for your dog is this. When a Border Collie forms a primary attachment, it doesn't register in their brain the way a preference registers. It registers the way an anchor registers. You become the fixed point around which their entire perception of safety, stimulation, and meaning is organized. Research into canine attachment styles has found that Border Collies show disproportionately high rates of what behaviorists call secure base effect behavior, using their primary person as a reference point for how to respond to the entire environment. New situation? Check the person. Strange sound? Check the person. Uncertain about whether something is safe? Look at the person first, before deciding anything. You are not just their favorite. You are their operating system. Here is something most owners never realize. Your Border Collie chose you before you knew you were being evaluated. The process started early, possibly within the first days or weeks of living with you, and it ran continuously, quietly, beneath the surface of every ordinary interaction you had together. And it was rigorous. Border Collies are cognitively among the most sophisticated domestic dogs on Earth. Studies from the University of Vienna and the Family Dog Project in Budapest have consistently found that Border Collies demonstrate exceptional performance on tasks measuring social intelligence, problem-solving, and the ability to read human communicative intent. They are not just smart. They are specifically smart about people. They read micro-expressions. They track gaze direction. They notice patterns in behavior that most humans don't even know they're producing. So when your Border Collie was deciding whether you were their person, they were running an assessment that covered several dimensions simultaneously. They were watching how you responded when they were uncertain. Did you project calm, or did you amplify their anxiety? They were measuring the consistency between your emotional state and your behavior. Do you act the way you feel, or are you unpredictable? They were tracking whether your attention to them was genuine or distracted. They were noting whether you gave them space when they needed it and presence when they sought it. They were, in the most literal sense, studying you, and what they were looking for was not the person who gave them the most treats or the longest walks. They were looking for the person whose internal world they could read most clearly and most safely, because a Border Collie whose handler is unpredictable, emotionally inconsistent, or difficult to read cannot do their job, and everything in their biology. In 2015, a landmark study published in the journal Science by researcher Miho Nagasawa and her team at Azabu University in Japan documented something that genuinely shifted the field of animal cognition. When dogs and their owners engaged in mutual eye contact, both the dog and the human experienced a significant spike in oxytocin, the neurochemical associated with bonding, trust, and social attachment. Not just the human, not just the dog. Both simultaneously triggered by looking at each other. What made this finding particularly striking was that the effect was significantly stronger in dogs with high attachment to their owners compared to dogs with lower attachment scores. The bond itself amplified the neurochemical response. The closer the relationship, the more powerful the oxytocin release. The more powerful the oxytocin release, the deeper the bond. A self-reinforcing loop of neurochemical attachment that, once established, becomes one of the most stable features of the dog's entire emotional architecture. For Border Collies specifically, this mechanism appears to operate at an elevated intensity. The Border Collie stare, the thing that people who don't own the breed find slightly unnerving, is not a dominance display, and it is not random. Their eye contact is not incidental. It is the primary channel through which this breed maintains and deepens their attachment bond. Every time your Border Collie locks eyes with you, their brain is releasing oxytocin, and so is yours. You have been bonding neurochemically with your dog, probably multiple times a day in moments you never identified as significant. Every held gaze over the couch, every check-in on a walk, every moment they looked up at you and you looked back. All of it was chemistry. All of it was building something. Most Border Collie owners recognize the big signals. The dog that follows you from room to room. The dog that positions themselves between you and anything unfamiliar. The dog that watches the door and knows, somehow, when you're about to come home before any audible signal has reached them. But there are subtler signs that most owners misread entirely or don't notice at all. The first is what behaviorists call referential looking. When a Border Collie encounters something uncertain, a strange object, an unfamiliar sound, a new person, they look at their chosen person first, before they decide how to feel about it. They are outsourcing their threat assessment to you. They trust your emotional read of a situation more than their own initial instinct. That's not dependence. That's the deepest form of confidence a dog can place in another being. The second is mirroring. A Border Collie who has chosen you will, over time, begin to modulate their own energy levels based on yours. When you are calm, they settle. When you are energized, they rise to meet it. When you are sad or unwell, they shift into a quieter, closer mode that has nothing to do with commands or training. This emotional mirroring is documented in bonded pairs and almost entirely absent in dogs who haven't formed a primary attachment. Your Border Collie is not reacting to you. They are tracking you continuously and calibrating themselves to match. The third sign is the one most owners get completely backwards: distance regulation. A Border Collie who has truly chosen you is not always the dog who is glued to your side. Sometimes there is something nobody tells you when you bring a Border Collie home. The depth of attachment this breed is capable of is not free. It comes with a weight that other breeds simply don't ask you to carry. A Border Collie who has chosen you needs you to be consistent, not perfect, but consistent, because their attachment is not passive, it is active, ongoing, and continuously updated based on the information you give them about who you are. Every day you are being read. Every day the data is being processed. And a Border Collie whose primary person becomes erratic, emotionally unavailable, or impossible to read does not simply adjust and move on the way a less attached breed might. Research on separation-related distress in dogs has found that Border Collies and other breeds with high attachment scores show significantly more severe stress responses to owner absence than breeds with lower attachment profiles. The same neurology that makes their loyalty extraordinary makes their vulnerability to its disruption profound. This is not something to be afraid of, it is something to understand, because when you understand it, the relationship changes. You stop seeing your Border Collie's intensity as a management problem. You start seeing it as a form of trust so complete that it has made you the center of a living creature's entire world. And that stare your Border Collie gives you across the room, the one that seems to go right through you, is not them asking for something. It is not them being demanding or intense or difficult. It is them doing what they have been doing since the first week they knew you, checking in with the person their entire nervous system is organized around, confirming that you are still there, that the world still makes sense, that the anchor is holding. You didn't just get a dog. You were chosen by an animal whose entire evolutionary history was building toward the capacity to do exactly that, to find one person and orient a whole life around them. The question they asked when they were evaluating you was simple: can I read you? Can I trust you? Will you make sense to me? And at some point, quietly, without ceremony, your Border Collie looked at you and decided, yes. That answer doesn't expire. It doesn't get replaced. It lives somewhere deep in the neurology of a dog who has decided, with every tool their remarkable brain has available, that you are their person. Make sure you keep being worth it. If this video changed the way you see your Border Collie, and share it with someone who has a Border Collie that follows them everywhere, because now they'll know exactly what that means. Drop a comment below telling us the moment you realized your Border Collie had chosen you. We read every single one,